and welcome to my channel Distinctive Crochet. My name is Priscilla and today we're here to work on part 1 of the Diamond Painting Meets Crochet tutorial for the owl pillow, and this is a Fair Isle crochet technique, which is color work, and pretty much the technique just involves carrying your yarn while you're crocheting the entire pillow so that it can stay the same thickness. And it's also right there and available to you when you're ready to change color. And you will also be working entirely in the back loop. Okay, so I'll explain more about the stitching in the tutorial itself, but let me just go ahead and show you what the pillow looks like here. So this is the owl that we'll be making, and I based these colors off of the picture that was sent to me by Linnea of the Linnea's Cozy Craft Corner. I'm sorry. And we have decided to come up with this collaboration because she is really passionate about diamond painting and crochet, and I'm passionate about crochet, and I'm just getting into diamond painting thanks to her. So we decided to go ahead and combine the two crafts and come up with a project. So she is doing the diamond painting and I'm doing the crochet. So this is the graph that I came up with, but you're more than welcome to use any color that you like. You'll just need a main color for your owl. Then you'll need the two different colors for the eyes, as well as the black for the pupil of the eye. And then I've chose to use the same color for the beak and the talons. So you'll just need colors for those, and you can pick any ones that you like. The main thing though is that you use the same weight of yarn. So all of these are worsted number 4 weight yarn. However, they're different brands, and I even used the scraps for the different color work. But the main colors I did use like whole skeins for those because you will need quite a bit of that. So the main color I use probably about around 800 yards, somewhere around there. And then the main color for the owl is about between 600 to 700. So because you are carrying the yarn, you're not going to need quite as much, but you are carrying it, so you want to make sure that you have enough. But the rest of the color work, you probably can use just any scraps that you have. Now, since this is Diamond Painting Meets Crochet, I also thought it would be a really cool idea to use some sparkle yarn. So I'm working up a new pillow that I will be using this sparkle yarn for. And this is actually a number 3 weight yarn, so I'm going to be doubling this up so that I can get it closer to the 4 weight that I need it to be. And this is the Patton's Glam Stripes in the color Orchid, and like I said, it's a lightweight 3, and this is 85% acrylic and 15% polyester. So really you can use any yarn that you have. You just really want to make sure that you try to keep it the same weight, and if it's not the same, you double it up or try to get it to the same thickness, because like I said, it can change the thickness of your fabric in parts, and then it'll go wavy on you, and you don't really want that. Alright, so I'm pretty much going to be with you showing you the different techniques that you need to know at the certain stages, and then once we have those techniques down, then I'll move into the graph and just pretty much show you each amount of stitches that you'll need to work the graph. So for example, the first row here is 14 stitches for the bottom tail. So I'll just say, like, you know, you need to work 14 stitches of the main owl color, something like that. So once I show you how to carry your yarn and do all of that, then you'll be left with the graph and how many stitches for each row of the color work. Okay, so with the rest of it, all you're doing is single crocheting in the back loop, carrying your yarn, and working in continuous rounds. So you will not be joining. You're just going to be working in continuous rounds, and I would recommend using a stitch marker for the for your first stitch in your row, either your first stitch or your last stitch, however you like to mark that. But mark it so that you can be aware that you're starting the new round, and then that way you can keep track on which row you are in your graph. Okay, So now I'm going to go ahead and take you guys into the materials, and then we'll get started with the tutorial. For this tutorial, you will need around 800 yards for the main color of your pillow, and then another 600 to 700 yards for the main color of your owl. And you want to make sure you're using the same weight yarn. You will also need some scrap yarn for the different color changes for the facial features and the beak intaglions. So I'm just using some scrap worsted weight yarn here. And then you will also need your 5mm hook, a stitch marker, a yarn needle, and also a pair of scissors. And then finally, we are making a pillow, so you will need a pillow form. And I have picked this 18 by 18 pillow form up from Walmart. So that is the size that I will be using for this tutorial. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this tutorial. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do to get started with this tutorial is you want to grab the main color that you're using for your pillow, and then you want to make a row of either foundation single crochets, 142 of them, or you can go ahead and chain 143 chains and then single crochet in the second chain from the hook and then in each stitch across. So either way that you want to go ahead and do that, go ahead and get that done, and then when you have that finished, then go ahead and come back to the video and then we'll get started with the next step. Alright, so I already have mine finished. So now I'm just going to make sure that it's not twisted, and then I'm going to go ahead and get ready to join it together. So let me just make sure it's not twisted. Alright, so now the next thing we're going to do is join it together, and we're just going to go ahead and work a single crochet right into the back loop only, and that's how we're going to be joining each round. And let me make sure my yarn is behind the hook. Alright, so I'm just going to insert my hook right into the very first stitch here in the back loop, and then put a single crochet in there to join. So now we're just going to go ahead and mark it with a stitch marker, and then that way we'll know when we're ready to start our new round, because we're going to be working in continuous rounds. Alright, so once I get this in here, we'll get started with round 1. And thanks again, Jeanette, for these legit stitch markers. I appreciate it. That's Jeanette from DOYCreations, and I'll link her channel down below. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and work single crochets in the back loop only, but we need to work over our yarn for our main color of our owl, so that way we can keep consistent with the fabric thickness. So all I'm going to do is just lay this yarn over my hook, and then I'm just going to go ahead and make a single crochet into that back loop to trap it. So this is how I have it set up, just like this, and then that way it'll trap the yarn as I crochet, and then we'll have the thickness consistency that we need during this project. So you don't really need to join with a slip knot or anything. You can just lay it over the hook, and then you're just going to yarn over and finish off your single crochet, and then that will go ahead and trap it right in the back, as you can see there, and then finish off that single crochet, and then go ahead on to the next one. So you're just going to continue on in the back loop only and working right over that other color of yarn. And since I'm using a thinner weight yarn, I'm doubling it up here, but if it was another worsted weight, you would just need those single strand. So it locks it right in place just by single crocheting right over it, and you're just going to keep working in that same way all the way around. And when you get back to your stitch marker, you're just going to work in the back loop with a single crochet, and then you can just keep doing that, working in continuous rounds all the way around. And then every time you get back to your stitch marker, you just join it with the single crochet in the back loop. So just keep working in continuous round until you get to round 11, and then I will come back and show you what to do for the color work. So here's the instructions on the screen. You can pause here, and then I will meet you back. Alright, and I made it back around. I have completed my 10 rounds of the single crochet in the back loop only while I was carrying my yarn, and now I'm on round 11. When I got to the stitch marker, I went ahead and counted 28 stitches over. So I just single crochet in the back loop, carrying my yarn 28 stitches over. So on this last stitch here, the number 28 stitch, I'm just going to go ahead and change color. So on my last pull through 2, instead of finishing off with the other color, I'm going to finish off with my owl color. So now you want to bring in the main color that you're going to be using for your owl. And I'm using this orchid color here, which is the Glam Stripes, and it's a little bit sparkly, so I think it really goes well with the diamond painting theme. So now I'm ready to go work my next stitch. This is the first round of color work, and we're going to be working the owl's tail, and we'll be working 14 stitches across. We're going to make sure we're carrying the main color of our pillow now, and that way we keep consistency of the thickness of the fabric. So you just want to go right into the back loop of that first stitch, and then make sure you're catching your yarn by having it over the top of your hook. Then you're just going to go ahead and pinch that down to hold it tight, keep some little tension. And I'm just going to single crochet right over top. Just keep going in the same manner for another 13 stitches for a total of 14 stitches for the first round of color work on the owl pattern. Alright, so I'm just going to keep going, working these first 14 stitches, and then I will meet you back. So this is just a picture of the color work chart that we'll be using, and I'm just showing you the first round of color work, which is the 14 stitches that we just worked across. Okay, so I made it back, and I have 13 stitches here. So I worked the first 13, and then I'm on this last stitch. So I just wanted to show you that on this last one, you need to go ahead and make sure you change back to your other color. So we're going to change back, and we're going to drop our yarn to the back and pick up our main pillow color, and we'll pull it through, and then you can just snug down the other color. That way it's nice and neat. And now you're going to be working over top of that color. So make sure you're crocheting in the back loop only and working over top of that yarn that you're carrying, and then you're just going to continue that all the way around till you get to your stitch marker, and then I will meet you back. So just keep going all the way around till you get to your stitch marker, and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I made it back, and I made it to my stitch marker. So as you're working with your yarn, sometimes the yarn will get twisted. So maybe every time you get back to your stitch marker, you just take the time to untwist the yarn by just bringing it around and over top of the other strand until it becomes untangled again. And that way it won't be so difficult to work with as you continue on working up the project. So just take it and untwist it however you need to do, and that way it won't be so difficult every time you have to work the other color. Alright, so now that we're made it back here to the stitch marker, the next thing you're going to do is just work right up to the stitch right before you get to the color work. So right up until you get to here, it's just one stitch before the color work, and then we're going to change back to the owl color. So I'm going to work my stitches, and then I will meet you back when I get to the color change for the owl. Alright, so I'll meet you back. Okay, so I made it back, and now I'm on this last stitch here. So I want to drop that main pillow color and pull through with my owl color, and now I'm ready to work this very next stitch in the main owl color. So I'm just going to tuck that yarn behind there and keep a nice good tension on it, that way I can work over it. So now we're just going to single crochet in the back loop only, and this is for 16 stitches across. So it's just one new stitch on either side of what we have done so far. So here's the 2 and 3, 4, 5, making sure I'm crocheting over that yarn just to keep thickness of the fabric. So here's number 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So on this last stitch here, I want to make sure I drop that owl color, and then now I'm going to go ahead and pick up the new color for the main pillow and snug it down, and now I'm ready to work over top of that. So now I'm going to work right over this color all the way around, working in the back loops. So just continue to do that all the way around and making sure you're detangling your yarn as you go. Now we're just going to go ahead and get into the charts. So I'll just put the chart on the screen, and then when I'm referring to the rounds, I'm just referring to the color work rounds. So not the entire rounds that we have completed already, but just the rounds of the color chart. So you're just going to work up to the color work, and then you'll follow the directions that I have on the screen. And then if I say 1 stitch before or 1 stitch after, I'm just referring to the color work that you've completed already from the round below. So I'll go ahead and leave the instructions on the screen, as well as guide you through with the audio, with the voice instruction as well. And then I'll continue to work mine off camera, and I'll have the chart on the screen so you can follow along with that as well. All right, here's the charts. Okay, so this is round 3 of the chart for the color work. You're going to start 1 stitch before, and then you're going to work the next 18 stitches in the main owl color. And then once you have your 18 stitches, you're going to go ahead and change your color back to your main pillow color. And then you will go ahead and get ready to work all the way around in the back loop, only carrying your yarn, and get ready for the next round. So this is round 4 of the color work. You're going to start at the same stitch, and you're going to work 18 stitches of the main owl color. And then once you have your 18 stitches, go ahead and switch colors, and then make sure that you continue to work over that other color all the way around in the back loops only, and move your stitch marker up and get ready for the next round. All right, for round 5, you're going to go ahead and start 1 stitch after where the color work started from the round below, and work 16 stitches in the main owl color, making sure you change back to the main pillow color on the 16th stitch, and then go ahead working single crochets in the back loop, working over the yarn all the way around to get back to your stitch marker and move it up. Alright, so for round 6, you're going to go ahead and start 1 stitch after the color work from the round below, and work a total of 14 stitches of the main owl color, being sure to change back to the main pillow color on that 14th stitch. And then you're going to work around in the back loop only, carrying your yarn until you get to the next round. For round 7, go ahead and work 1 stitch after the color work started from the round below. In the main owl color, you're going to work 12 stitches across, and then you'll switch back to your main color for your pillow and work single crochets over the other yarn all the way around until you're ready for the next round. For round 8, you're going to go ahead and start at the same stitch from the round below, 12 stitches of the main owl color, and then you will switch back to the main pillow color and work single crochets in the back loop only, working over top of the yarn until you're ready for the next round. For round 9, This is going to be the last round that we will do together today for part 1. You're going to start 1 stitch before the color work started from the round below. You're going to work 14 stitches of that main owl color, and then you will change back to your main pillow color and working in the single crochets in the back loop only over top of the other owl color, and then you will pause there for this tutorial, and then I will come back with part 2 where we will continue on working the owl chart and get into some color work for the Italians of the owl. We'll begin there. Alright, so thanks again for hanging out with me, and then I will see you for part 2. And then I'm going to say 1 stitch before, 1 stitch